Roman Reigns has returned to SmackDown, but not as the tribal chief looking to reclaim his throne or re-establish his dominance. No, this return is something far more ominous, far more calculated, and potentially far more devastating than anyone in the WWE Universe was prepared for. Roman didn't step out from the shadows alone, and he didn't return seeking redemption, revenge, or even recognition. He returned flanked by a presence so intense, so raw, so dangerous that it felt like the atmosphere inside the arena shifted into something primal. That presence is none other than Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf, a man whose sheer physicality is matched only by his aura of unpredictability and violence. And together, Reigns and Fatu now form one of the most unexpected, terrifying, and seismic alliances WWE has ever seen. This isn't just two powerhouses standing shoulder to shoulder. This is the fusing of two storm systems into a supercell, threatening to engulf every faction, every superstar, every notion of tradition and legacy that WWE has built over the last decade. Roman Reigns, the man who once ruled SmackDown with icy control, who ran the Bloodline Empire with surgical precision from 2020 to 2024, has returned not to revive his old dynasty, but to raze it to the ground. The man who defined dominance without needing to hold a title, who built a myth around silence and psychological warfare, is now walking beside Jacob Fatu, a monster not born of pageantry, but of pain, fury, and survival. Fatu, a former MLW champion and current United States champion, didn't come up through the ranks the way Roman did. He wasn't groomed under the spotlight. He was forged in shadows. He bled on the independents, shattered bodies across small arenas, and earned respect not by demand, but by destruction. And now, he walks into WWE not as a prospect, not as a footnote in someone else's legacy, but as an equal to Roman Reigns himself. This alliance is more than blood. It's more than shared family ties, more than legacy. It's about power that no longer asks permission. Roman and Jacob aren't forming a faction, they're initiating a purge. And the question on everyone's mind is simple yet terrifying: why now? Why this alliance? And what is it they truly want? The WWE Universe has become used to factions, heel turns, surprise returns, but this is different. This feels biblical. This feels like the beginning of an era so dangerous that every champion, every contender, every legacy act should be looking over their shoulder. Because this isn't about gold. It's about fire. About erasure. About burning down the old rules and writing new ones in smoke and blood. This isn't just a storyline. It's a reckoning. The seeds of this storm were planted long before that eerie moment on SmackDown when Roman stood beside Fatu without saying a word. The hints were there, the cryptic Titantron glitches, the tribal heartbeat echoing during promos, the camera cuts that lingered too long on empty chairs and fading tattoos. The bloodline had already begun its slow, silent implosion. Jey Uso went solo and cracked under pressure. Jimmy Uso tried to reforge broken bonds and failed. Solo Sikoa, once the obedient enforcer, mutated into a cold, calculating general of chaos, aligning with new faces like JC Muto and Hikuleo. And in the eye of this storm stood Paul Heyman, no longer the architect of greatness, but a trembling relic of a fallen empire. Then came Jacob Fatu, a force so wild and so unchained that even Solo looked nervous when standing next to him. Fatu didn't cut promos. He cut through bodies. He didn't ask for respect. He took it. And with every match, with every moment of silence from Roman, the question grew louder. Were they working together all along? And now we know. Roman didn't return to stop Fatu. He returned to walk with him. And in that one gesture, every narrative in WWE shifted. The bloodline, once rooted in hierarchy and acknowledgement, is dead. This new alliance doesn't care about roles. It doesn't care about titles. It doesn't care about being liked. It only cares about destruction. Roman is no longer the tribal chief. He is the prophet of collapse. Jacob is not his enforcer. He is the sword. Together, they're not building something. They're dismantling everything. This isn't just a mega alliance. It's a philosophical war. Jey fights for legacy. Jimmy fights for healing. Cody fights for honor. But Roman and Fatu, they fight for entropy. They fight for silence. They fight to remind the world that in chaos, the only law is power. And in their world, anyone clinging to the past, whether it's Paul Heyman, Solo Sikoa, the Usos, or even the WWE itself, is already lost. The possibilities are terrifying. What if Roman uses Jacob to soften the battlefield, only to turn on him at WrestleMania? What if Jacob turns first, exposing Roman as the manipulator he's always been? What if Paul Heyman, broken and humiliated, returns with a vengeance of his own, guiding someone like Cody Rhodes or LA Knight into battle against this unholy duo? And what happens if none of that happens? If this alliance holds, unshaken, undivided? Then we're not just watching a new faction, we're watching a new WWE. This moment is not about who holds the titles. It's about who holds the future. And as Roman and Fatu walk through smoke, through silence, through legacy turned to ash, they aren't just rewriting the book. They're reminding us that when kings fall and monsters rise, nothing remains untouched. Not the roster. Not the rules. Not even the fans. And if you think this is just a storyline, just another arc, then you haven't been paying attention. This isn't about feuds. This is about mythology. And in this new myth, Roman Reigns isn't the god at the top of the mountain. He's the fire at its base, burning everything that once defined him. And Jacob Fatu, he's the roar in the forest, the echo of something primal that reminds us all why we were afraid of the dark to begin with. This is the reckoning arc. And it's only just begun. Roman Reigns has returned to SmackDown, but not for the reasons anyone expected. This isn't about reclaiming titles or asserting dominance over a fractured kingdom. No, this is something deeper, darker, and far more unsettling. His comeback not as the tribal chief seeking to restore his throne, but as a man standing side by side with someone who once stood outside every circle of power, Jacob Fatu, the Samoan werewolf. Together, these two titans have formed an alliance that no one in the WWE universe saw coming, and its implications are nothing short of seismic. The moment Roman Reigns stood shoulder to shoulder with Jacob Fatu, the air changed. Two forces, one the former God King of WWE, the other an untamed force of destruction, joined not in rivalry but in solidarity. And now, fans are scrambling to make sense of it all. Is this the resurrection of the bloodline, evolved into something more vicious and unpredictable than ever before? Or is it the final, irreversible fracture that will burn down everything Roman once built? To understand this moment, you have to go back. Roman Reigns, real name Lietai Joseph Anoa'i I, led the bloodline through the most dominant reign in modern wrestling history, reshaping WWE into a monarchy built on fear, loyalty, and calculated silence. But it all collapsed at WrestleMania 41, when he lost in a triple threat to Seth Rollins and CM Punk. Since then, Reigns vanished. No promos, no appearances, no hints. Jacob Fatu, meanwhile, exploded into WWE with a storm of violence and charisma, winning the United States Championship and